Hi, Steve Kaufman here. I'm the author of the Musician's Book of Five Rings, Samurai Strategy to Empower You in Ascension and Excellence of Performance in Your Art. I wrote the book based on the idea of my martial arts version of Musashi's Book of Five Rings, which has sold over 1.5 million copies around the world. And I'm also a musician. A lot of friends had spoken to me and said, why don't you convert the samurai sword fighting techniques into playing the horn? Because obviously, I play saxophone, tenor saxophone. Because obviously there are a lot of like ideas that are essential for anyone who wants to become masterful at what they're doing. And I thought about it and I said, well, yeah, this doesn't have anything to do necessarily with a particular thing, but I will focus it on the art of musicianship. And as a result, we now have the book, Musician's Book of Five Rings. And he looked at it and said, let's see what's going on here. And then we got together and we played a little bit. And he said, yeah, well, I guess, Steve knows what he's doing. He can play. Okay, enough of that. Wrote a very, very fine introduction to the book. Before we get into it, let me just say that I dedicated the book to Joe Allard, my teacher, who I never fully appreciated, but like every other musician in the world, practically, no one appreciates their teachers, right? Okay. And also to my uncle, Sid Shanman. He's gone now a lot of years. And he laid a Charlie Parker 78 on me when I was but 12, and it certainly did influence my life. Okay, enough with that. Let's get into the book. Musashi was the greatest swordsman that Japan had ever produced at that time, and many people consider him to be a sword saint. So this is good because he taught the principles of using the sword as a tool to stay alive. And so it became, over the years, it became like a de facto standard. And there were some interpretations and translations, and then I got a hold of it and I did a job on it. And it became a very, very celebrated work, Musashi's Book of Five Rings. I structured the Book of Five Rings for musicians on the same format as in the swordsman's version. The 5 sections are earth, water, fire, wind, and no thing rather than nothing. We'll get to that. In the Book of Earth, Musashi talks about the foundations of how you must conduct yourself and put yourself together, teach yourself to have the discipline that's required so that you can get to the level of accomplishment you want to. And by keeping these basic ideas in your mind and reviewing them periodically, you will absolutely ascend to a higher level of performance. The Musician's Book of Five Rings is structured on the 5 principles of Buddhism that Musashi related to: earth, for the foundation; water, the natural flow of things; fire, the passion from within; the Book of Wind, which is essentially talks about meaningless things and things that will distract you from ascending; and also the 5th book, the Book of No Thing. The Book of Earth describes the foundations, the basic 9 precepts that you have got to follow in order to develop a discipline, in order to develop yourself in your mind as the greatest musician that ever lived. And I will tell you this frankly, if you don't think you're the greatest musician that ever lived, you are always going to be looking at the competition. And that's something that's very significant. And the book talks about that, how to accept yourself as a great musician, how to be a great musician, and what it is that it takes to develop the discipline to maintain that mindset. That's a very important strategy that the samurai used to keep themselves alive in battle. The 2nd section of the book is the Book of Water, the natural flow of things. You know, there's never really a need to force things, to coerce things. to get mad at yourself, to beat yourself up and say, I'll never get this done, but I'll do it my way and nobody's going to know the difference, blah, blah, blah. The natural flow of things suggests that you get out of your way and let the wisdom of the muse, however you want to define that, play the music through you. Yes, of course, you have to practice, you have to develop yourself to a certain level of skill, but the Book of Water lays it out and talks about it in a very, very easy approach. The third section, notice, the third section, fire, the Book of Passion. Now, don't confuse passion with emotion, okay? Emotion, you usually get to a point where you can't control yourself, but passion comes from the fire within. And the fire within is what drives you. The fire within is what makes you ascend. The fire within is what separates you from everyone else. Depending upon how you acknowledge and accept the principles of fire in this context, will ascend you, will empower you to ascend to levels you had no idea even existed in you. So you will find out that, as we spoke about accepting your greatness, you now accept the ability to maintain your greatness. Very important. The Book of Wind, on the other hand, the fourth section, talks about meaningless things. Hey, follow my way of playing and you don't have to practice. Hey, you don't really need to do this, just do this. Hey, put this thing into action and you'll be surprised that you don't even have to bother yourself or work up a sweat. All of these things are an aspect of superficiality, and Musashi clearly and impressively discusses the manner in which you must overcome the need to succumb to mediocrity. Important. The fifth book, the Book of No Thing. The Book of No Thing discusses why you don't really do anything. You merely set yourself up as a vehicle. The vehicle you set yourself up as is driven by a higher power, the creative power of the universe. Now, we're not getting into religion here, but we're getting into focusing and functioning as an extension of the creative power of the universe so that you can readily accept your greatness, readily fire up your passion, and become very aware of meaningless things that will interfere with you. I suggest you read the book. I suggest you study the book. The book is available through jazzbooks.com, Jamie Aebersold, or you can get a copy at my website, autograph, Hanshi, HANSHI.com/books. If you want to get in touch with me, Steve K Music, STEVEKAYEMUSIC @gmail.com. Also, feel free to query me with any questions you may have. Now, if you like what you're hearing, and how can you not, okay, click subscribe, click like, and leave a comment. If you don't like what you hear, click don't like, and also leave a comment. Tell me why you didn't like it. Let's see what we can do. Okay? Again, The Musician's Book of Five Rings, Samurai Strategy to Enhance Your Ascension and Excellence of Performance. I'm Steve Kaufman. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, because there are going to be a lot more of these videos, and I'll be getting into specifics. Hey, pop your toes. I'll see you later. you.